the Market Musings podcast. Well, hello and welcome to the Market Musings podcast here from Stockbox, where today we're talking to John Carter, the CEO, amongst everything, as we were just saying before we started recording, the janitor, the cook, the bottle washer, as Alan pointed out. But the main title is the CEO of Silver Bullet Mines. So thank you very much for joining us today. John, how are you? How are things going?
Oh, everything's going great, Mark, and nice to talk to you and Alan, and nice to have the opportunity to get a little bit of the background story out so people get a sense of what this company is about and what it's capable of being.
Indeed. And Alan, of course, you're here as well. How are things over with you?
Very good, thank you, Mark. Yep, good to talk to you, John, as well. And I did cover Silver Bullet Mines recently in a research talk, but that's obviously my interpretation. But it's going to be really interesting to hear your version this time, and also to find out about you and your history too.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that's what this podcast is indeed all about. First of all, John, where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Oakville, Ontario, Canada. Which is about
Canada. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
It's about 30 miles outside of downtown Toronto.
Okay, nice. And what's it like over there? I'm calling from the Netherlands, and it's cold and wet.
Oh, it's beautiful today, sunny and
Okay.
17 degrees Celsius.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Actually, John, it's about the same here. I live in Seaford on the south coast of England, between Eastbourne and Brighton, and we've got the sun out. It's about 15 degrees, maybe a couple of degrees colder, but yeah.
It's a beautiful day. Finally, spring has sprung.
Yep, feels like you're here too.
Indeed.
Perfect.
Okay, that's excellent. It's good to hear. So let's go back, John, and talk a bit about you, really. As I say, we want to focus on the podcast really about the people in the business here. And as you were saying as well before we recorded, that that's really key for you as well. Execution is key, and you can have the best projects, but you need the best people as well, really. So been very interested to learn about your background. If you can go back as far as you like, you can go back to sort of where you were born, where you spent your childhood, or sort of what you studied if you went to college, university. But yeah, as far back as you'd like to take us to begin with, we'd just be keen to hear about your background, and then we can get into some of your past careers and the projects that you've worked on.
Okay. Well, back in 1708, my great grandfather came to North America. Is that far enough back?
Wow. Yeah. We've never had someone go back that far. So
anyway,
awesome.
There you go.
An all-time first for musings. Brilliant.
But I think, what's important here is I went to university, took engineering, become a civil engineer. And along the way, I bumped into a person who was interested in buying one of my companies, he said, well, if I don't buy the company, I'd love to talk to you, and I've got an opportunity you might be interested in. And this was 1978. So what happened was he didn't buy the company, somebody else did, and I went and sat down with him. He said, well, would you like to get involved in the mining business? I said, mining business? Like, what's the mining business? I mean, I really never ever thought of the mining business at all. And he said, I think you'd enjoy this, and I'll tell you a piece of the company. We manufacture and engineer mineral processing equipment for the world. So I said, okay. So I went and saw him and put some money into it. And I'm like that Gillette commercial where I fell in love with the business, fell in love with the company, and at the end of the day, I bought it. And basically, that's what happened. So I started, like I said, back in the late 70s, and we built that company from scratch. And we were one of the largest manufacturers of mineral processing equipment in North America. And we exported it to over 40 countries. I've been involved in the manufacture of probably, I even stopped counting, but it's probably well in excess of 200 mills. And in those 40 countries that we exported to were South America and Europe and Africa and Asia. And all those places, there was never one that was in downtown Miami, Florida. It was always in the middle of nowhere. So you got used to, working with the people, trying to, function in areas that you're not familiar with. I've had guys wandering through the jungle of Ecuador with a guy with an AK-47 in front, an AK-47 on back, and you're wondering, what the heck am I doing here? But you know what? It certainly gave you a wide perspective of what this industry is all about. You know, when you're in 4,000 meters above sea level, you know, in Peru, trying to get a mill to run, it's never been an easy task. But what you learned and what you saw when you were in those areas and doing those things is that you saw there was an opportunity here, and you saw the mistakes people make, and you saw the things that you felt could be done better. And so after 30 some odd years of doing that, you know, it was time to move on. The company still runs now, and there's still people doing exactly what I was doing. And I thought, well, you know, I've watched that happen. I've watched the way the industry builds, and you know, I don't agree with everything, but I don't disagree with everything. So what we tried to do is say, okay, now if we go into a public space, why don't we go back and look at some areas, you know, where we can do better moving down the line. So we started looking for properties, and I believe in the adage, I don't remember which mining guru said it, but the best place to find a mine is in the shadow of the head frame. So, and all that means is that obviously if they mined it, there's got to be something there. And you know what it's like in the United States, and particularly Canada and the United States. What happens is if a guy goes out and finds a vein and digs down on it, they call it a mine. Well, that's not a mine. That's a hole in the backyard, if you know what I'm saying. So what we tried to do is we tried to look for properties that actually had past historical production of some significance, not a guy, like I said, George going out in the backyard and digging a hole and finding a nugget. That was not, this is what it's about. And we looked at many, many projects along the way. And one of the ones in 2008, one of the ones that was brought to our attention was our Arizona property. Now, you based on how the heck did you end up in Arizona? Well, actually, I got it through a dentist in Calgary. Don't even ask. But the fact is that when we went and saw that property, and I went up to look at it, I brought a geologist with me. I'm not a geologist. I just don't have the patience for it. But I brought a geologist with us and another metallurgical gentleman, and we went and we saw that property. And I saw a 700-foot shaft. I saw a 250-foot shaft. I picked silver out of the piles the stockpiles. I went and saw, you know, where the Buckeye mine is, which we're mining now. And I met the people. And what most impressed me about it was the people. Ron Murphy, Dan Murphy, Mike and Steve Comula, which are the twins I told you about earlier. They impressed me so much that, you know, they were on the property with their fathers, and their grandfathers first mined it. So they knew the area like the back of their hands. And when they took us to it, you know, you get, when you're starting to negotiate a deal to buy anything, you know, you always got to wonder about the people you're dealing with. And of course it works for them as well. So what we did is I sat with them, and I spent some time there, and I went to the property, and then I sat with them, and, you know, had a few beers in the local pub and all that stuff to get to know them. And I walked away with a sense that this was really something special. That said, you know, the devil's in the details. We did our work. Our geological team spent time on it. They spent a lot of time in the area, and we came back and we did a great deal for everybody concerned, because a deal's not good if it's not good for everybody, as you know, right? If one guy's got the advantage over the other, it'll never work out well. But these guys, we did a deal that made sense for both of us. Now, we've had a lot of hiccups since that day in 2009 when we signed the deal. We've had a lot of hiccups and a lot of ups and downs. But through all of that, we're still together as a team as we were the first day we were there. And I defy you to find many or a lot of people that actually can say that, you know, 15 years on in. Some guy said to me not long ago, he says, John, silver bullet mines, you sound like an instant success. And I said, yeah, an instant success, 15 years in the making. How is that instant? But so what we did is we went in, and with all that property, we picked up more of it. We've expanded the property. Now we have over 5,000 acres. The McMorris mine has the 700-foot shaft on it. And believe it or not, I know because you're over in the UK, you might not be familiar with this, but here in North America back in the 30s, there was a radio show and books that were written about the Lone Ranger. And the
Oh,
Lone
yeah.
Ranger,
Yeah. Yeah.
the Lone Ranger was a cowboy, and what he did is he went around doing good deeds. He wasn't a real guy, and he gave out silver bullets. He gave out silver bullets to everybody he did a good deed for.
Okay.
Believe it or not, the author Stryker went to our mine at the McMorris and bought silver from our mine in 1930 something, and he made that into silver bullets, which they handed out as promotional material. Now, how's that for something of significance? The mine was first developed in 1838. I mean, they were direct shipping silver from the mine to San Francisco by mule train and selling it to the smelters. So, we felt something was going on there. Since then, we've had our ups and downs of trying to get financings done and not getting it done, and people changing and company and everything like that that's been in flux for the last 15 years. But what's never changed is me and them and the team that we've built around us. We're still in there fighting the good fight. Now, let's look at what we've done in the last 5 years since Silver Bullet stepped in and started to do what it's doing. We have built on that property a complete mine mill complex that I'll stand up next to anybody for the amount of money we put into it. We can handle material from all over Arizona, as you saw from our press release yesterday. We're bringing in now, we've already got over 250 tons sitting on the ground of material from another past producing mine that we're going to process and generate revenue. In the meantime, we have now got there an MSHA certified mill. What that means is Mine Safety and Health Association and the Department of Mines for Arizona has approved our mill. Most little guys don't bother to do it that way. They don't
that's
bother
been fully approved now. That's all gone through, because I know you were waiting for that for a while.
No, the mill has gone through. Okay. The mine itself, we're in the final throes of it. We're commencing our rock bolting process, which we have to do, and that's ongoing. But the mill is fully functioning. It is running right now. The mill is actually running and producing silver concentrate as we speak. So what we've done is, if you saw the picture on our website, if you go to silverbulletmines.com, you'll see a picture of the facility looking down on it with the two big water tanks and everything that goes along with it. That 3.5 years ago, that was cactus, cowboys, and rattlesnakes. There was nothing there. Absolutely nothing. Now it's a full mill complex. And we even have our own assay facility, which enables us to put an assay in the morning and have the results back in the afternoon, instead of having to ship it to a lab, wait for 2 weeks, get it back, and hope like hell it's good. We know every day what we're doing. And, I get all kinds of people say to me, well, it's in Arizona, there's no water. Well, guess what, boys? What we did is we went in very early in the game, got a permit, and we drilled a 440-foot deep well. We hit water at 320 feet. We put in our pumping system. It pumps up to those two big green tanks that are 10,000 gallons. And we have enough water to handle any upcoming event that we're going to require in the future. So I think we've done it not just in a panic or in a hurry. We've done it carefully planned. We've been planning it for a long time. We've done it at a fraction of what most people would spend to buy this. I've had a guy who's very big in the mining industry, and I asked him for what he thought it would cost to build what we've got, and it was 3 times what we've spent. So that's what we've been able to do. And right now, like I said, the mill is there running. We're processing the material from the other mine that we're going to do a deal on moving forward. And then let's go now up to the Buckeye. People say, well, why did you pick the Buckeye instead of the McMorris? Because the Buckeye was the low-hanging fruit. It's private property, and it enables us to go in and get started quicker while we're permitting the McMorris and the Silver Sevens and the McClellan and all the other mining opportunities that are on that property. So what we did is we're doing that, and we've gone in and we hit the treasure room, and we've moved on into the new Zone 1, and we're now getting the MSHA approval, which includes all the things like the timbers you see there on the photographs. Those timbers had to be painted with a fireproof paint. The fireproof paint costs like $1,000 a gallon, but that's what you have to do to be MSHA certified. That's what we're doing now. But look at that whole complex. And here's the other thing I think that's significant for shareholders and people just to understand. All that stuff there, everything you see, we own. I don't have to make a payment at the end of the month for my loader or for my mucker or for the mill or anything like that. We own every last piece of it. It's all ours. So
Excellent.
It may not be pretty, but we own it. And our guys are so mechanically, we blew a motor in one of our mucking machines out last year on a Friday. By Tuesday, it was up and running again. So that's the thing about what I keep saying about having people on your side and people that are good at their job. You can execute. Nothing gets you down. So like I said, we own that property. We own everything on that property. The other thing that's important for everybody to know, I don't have to make option payments every year. Like a lot of people go out and auction a property. That means they have to spend so much money and pay so much for exploration and whatever it is they do with the owner to agree. Other than the Buckeye mine, the little 15-acre patent we got that we leased from these people, we don't have to make any of those payments. As long as I pay my taxes there, which are $165 per claim per year. If I pay those, nobody can take that away from me. I don't have to pay out money to do this. So I think we've worked really smart. I don't think people get what we've done. When you read some of the press releases out there, well, he's got to pay $1 million in option fees and spend $5 million in the property to earn a 60% interest. I don't have to do any of that. So what we've done there, I think, is absolutely incredible. And it's not about what I've done. It's about what the team has done. That team, I'll give you an example. We went out and we were going to have that pad poured. And we had a quote before we started, and it was $123,000. When we went to give the guy the order, the price had gone up to $400,000. So the boys said, the heck with it. We went out, we rented the forms, we arranged the concrete, our team poured it ourselves, continuously poured for like 2 days. And the boys came in and they poured the pad ourselves to save us the money. So those are the kind of things we do. We went through COVID. COVID had us down for months on end. We went through supply chain issues where I think I told you earlier, we had containers sitting on the water for 93 days. The transportation went from $16,000 to $80,000. We were hit with every possible problem. And then last year, it got so hot at the mill that the pad temperature was 150 degrees. You could fry an egg on the pad. And we fought our way through it. We finished it off. Now we actually have what I call a phenomenal mine mill complex. So if you want a little more, so what happened then? Where do you go from here?
We could go on. I mean, I'm very keen to think about sort of what you've been through in terms of problems that you've seen in the past and have then sort of been able to overcome them. I mean, I'm guessing there was no history of mining in the family. You say I can't remember, was it great grandfather, 17?
Oh, no, that was when they left Poole, England, and came to Newfoundland. But I was just trying to be funny. That was all.
Yeah. Okay. No. Well. Yeah. But still, I mean, that's still a great little thing. But no history of sort of, mining or exploration in the family until you got this opportunity.
None at all.
None at all.
Nothing at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said, I went to university because I wanted to be an airline pilot. Look how that worked out.
Yeah.
I got the pilot part, but I didn't get the airline pilot.
You got the pilot. Oh well, good. There you got.
Okay. Yeah.
You got some of it. But I mean, what challenges have you come across then in because mining, and exploration. And I know Silver Bullet is in a very good situation. But we talked to a fair few geologists or CEOs, and of course you're at the mercy of geology, aren't you? And there's decisions that you will make along the way that really could in theory make or break, and you can miss a deposit by maybe not millimeters, but certainly kind of.
You can miss it by millimeters.
Yeah.
Again,
have you had an experience of that? What sort have you learned along the way?
Well, I'm not sure if it's called experience, but it's like real estate. What do they say? The first 3 rules of real estate are location, location, location. So when you're targeting your locations, you look around the area. So I look in Arizona. I'm about 8 miles as the crow flies from Freeport McMoran's Miami operation. which is a huge copper, gold, silver deposit. I'm 30 miles away from Resolution. And if you look up Resolution, that's, I don't know, I think they're up to $3 or $4 billion right now in development costs to bring it into production. We're 40 miles away from the old Dominion mine that ran 6% copper and 600,000 ounces of silver a year for 50 years. And then you look down, Grupo Mexicano's got a mine there. And then like I said, come back to ours where you've got 5 old past producers sitting right on the property. So yeah, you're going to miss, you're going to win. But I think if you pick your locations very carefully, the geology, remember this geology that's in our area stretches all the way from Mexico right up into Nevada. And we're just right along the line of that. And it's been there, it's there. There are hundreds of little mines in our area. I mean, literally hundreds, they're not in production, mind you, but hundreds of little mines. And that's why we did what we did. So we started small. I didn't go out and drill it because you're right. When you're drilling nugget effect properties, which is what a vein structure is, you could miss it by 1/1,000,000th of a millimeter and get nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Or you could hit it right on the nail right on the head and get 1,000 ounces of silver or 1,000 ounces of gold. But none of that is really indicative of what's going on in the area. So I was trying to copy just me personally was trying to say, okay, why don't we use the Homestake approach? Homestake ran for 125 years and didn't drill a hole. If the vein was a foot wide, they mined a vein a foot. If it was 10, they mined 10 feet. And they were very successful for all those years by just following the vein. And that's what that's what we are doing, is we're following the vein. It doesn't mean we don't have other opportunities, and I'll bring those up in a minute. But so when we go in there, people say, well, you're not drilling the property. We are drilling the property, but we're drilling it by driving along that vein, and it's 12 foot wide. We're driving a drill right down that vein, and we're pulling out everything. And what we've done is we call it a pilot plant. It's a full-fledged plant. So we can process that material and find out what we've got, if anything, and keep on moving. The difference between us and a true junior mining exploration company is, at the end of the day, when they bring a drill contractor in, they pay him to do the drilling. And when he's over, the drill goes and he goes with it. If we don't find anything, we still own all the equipment, everything. Like I said, most companies have on their balance sheet for equipment and material, nothing. We've got a complete mill, mine, facility, and everything that you see on those things we own. So there's certainly nothing wrong with the idea. So let's go in there. Now, geologically, we were on the property. I've got 2 really great geologists that have been on the property with us. And there was another one of the holdups. We sent them down to spend 2 weeks in Arizona back in, I think it was November of 2022. And they were down for 2 weeks. They spent 10 days in bed with COVID. I mean, it's been an adventure, to say the least. But that said, we got through it. And while they were down there, we found, and you'll see it in one of our press releases, I can't remember the date now, where we found a gold outcropping that ran in the outcrop. It ran 4.5 grams gold. Now we're in a silver and copper area. And the other thing is, when these people say, well, that's now you're going to become mundane because you're just price earnings per share. You're going to produce some silver. You're going to do this, maybe some copper, maybe some gold. Where's the upside? Well, the upside is at the McMorris Silver Sevens, it's 2.5 miles between the 2 shafts. We've got the potential there for a major silver deposit. Don't know yet because we have to do the work. We also have done almost 800 soil samples on the property, okay, down in an area where we got really high copper values. The soil samples ran as high as 10 ounces of silver per ton and over 1% copper. And over 70% of it was anomalous for copper and silver. So for upside potential, we've got a potential copper porphyry on the property. We don't know that. We've got to do the work. But if you read our 43-101, there are a lot of indications that could be there. So now what happens to junior miners? They go out and find something like that. Their stock's 5 cents or whatever, and they got to borrow $10 million to do it. All of a sudden, they got 200 million shares outstanding and their stock is getting consolidated. What we're going to try to do here is generate revenue and use that revenue to do our exploration. That
And
that keeps our minimizes or reduces our dilution. It was not going to eliminate it completely, but it's a lot better to be 100 million shares outstanding than 200 or 300 million and consolidating. And who gets screwed? Your shareholders, because all of a sudden it goes, and you know the way it goes. If a 10-cent stock gets consolidated 10 for 1, it becomes $1. By the end of that day, it's back down to 50 cents. So we're trying to do it a little different. Yeah, we could be a bigger plant. Yes, I want to be a bigger plant. It's designed to double in capacity. It's designed to bring in a copper circuit. It's designed to do all kinds of different things. So, but let's do it from revenue and cash flow rather than doing it on the backs of our shareholders. Because that's what I call it. You're borrowing from your shareholders. And if it doesn't work, who gets screwed? Shareholders.
Yeah, the
So
shareholders. Exactly. That's a great model.
We're trying to do that now. And people say, well, you're too small to make a difference. Doesn't matter whether I make a difference in terms of how much money I make on it. It's what I do with that money. And that money is going to look towards building a resource over on the McMoors. It's going to look at the copper porphyry. And then the next big feather in our cap, which is, in my opinion, probably one of the best things we've ever seen, is that we picked up an Idaho property. Because remember, you're only as good as your last trick. So the next trick is coming, and it's our Idaho property. In Idaho, in 2015, we tried to buy that property from an elderly gentleman, and he wanted $5 million and a 5% NSR. And I said, it's probably worth $5 million, but we'll never finance an NSR.
John,
5 years.
I was going to say, is this the Washington mine? You're
the Washington mine.
That's it. Yeah.
5 years later. Yeah. 5 years later, he passes away, and the kids come to us and say, "We're interested in selling it. Would you be interested in buying it?" I said, "Yes, I've been interested all along." And I asked what he want. They gave me the price. I said, "Sold." I sent them the deposit that day, and 10 days later, we closed on it. Now, here's another mine that was mined in the 1890s. All right. And they mined it for gold. It was the highest, that area was the highest grade placer gold in Idaho. And it comes from somewhere. The Washington mine is where one of the sources of the gold came from. But they were mining it at 1 ounce a ton. But they didn't have the technology for the silver. So the silver is running. Well, Hecla did it. What do they call it? A bulk sample, and it ran 44 ounces a ton silver. 44 ounces. We did our own, and we came out at 55 ounces a ton silver because they blocked it out. They didn't have the capability at the time or the equipment to process the silver, so they targeted just the gold. They blocked out about 3 to 4 million ounces, and again, non-compliant. So you really can't. We don't know for sure, but we know it's there, and we've done all the test work ourselves. We've done some underground work on it, and there's a property that could conceivably, outproduce pretty well any silver mine in that area. And not only that, we found the extension of the gold, which they were mining historically, and we've subsequently found a parallel zone. So Idaho has a phenomenal potential, and we've got mills within 3 hours of that can produce it, that process it for us. So, and we're ready to go there. We've got our mucking machine, we've got our Connex, we've got our jack legs, we've got everything there. And we're just in the process now of working with a mine contractor to get in and start doing that. So, the company has so many opportunities to expand and develop. And like this other one that we just announced yesterday, it's got 30,000 tons of, pretty good grade material sitting there stockpiled, ready to be run. And where are they going to run it? There's only one game in town, and that's Silver Bullet Mines. That's us. So we're looking at we're looking at the mine itself to develop it as well.
So, John, with the Washington mine, could you? It sounds to me as though you could potentially replicate what you've done already at Buckeye with the mill, and given your improvisational skills that the team have on the ground there, they're able to fix machines, get them up and running again. Is it feasible you could build a mill that there and process your own ore at Washington?
Well, of course, there's always that potential. Now, I'm going to proviso that just a little bit because we got to make sure we make the right decisions as we move forward. Remember, in Idaho, we're at 4,000 feet above sea level, and it's all things have to be considered. Like there's no water problem in Idaho, that's for sure. But so we will make those considerations and make those decisions as we move forward clearly and done properly with proper metallurgy and everything else that goes along with it. We've been using Montana School of Technology to help us with some of the met work and everything. We do have mills in the area that can custom mill it for us. And because of the grades being so high, when you're talking, 44 ounces of silver and 0.1 ounce gold, I mean, you could almost ship it to Arizona if you wanted to our mill that's there. So, sure. But those things are down the road. I don't like to just jump off the cliff just because it's there. I want to take my time. I call it, what I call it? I call pushing the rope uphill. I just want to keep pushing the rope uphill, get in there and start mining it, getting out, which we hope to do this summer, get it out, get it over to a mill, get it processed. We know what the metallurgy is. We know what the recoveries are. We know what the grades are. Now let's see what we can do. And then we can make that determination. If it makes sense to put a mill on there, then we'll put a mill on there. If it doesn't, we won't. Sure. But the fact of the matter is, this is private property. Believe it or not, we even own the timber rights. Like, we didn't buy this as a mine. We bought this as a real estate transaction. The title is registered in Silver Bullet's name with Stewart title in San Francisco. So we own this. We own the timber rights. So when I go into, I need timber for the road or anything like that, we bring a guy in with a portable, what do they call it? A portable plant for cutting wood. And he comes in and he cuts all the timber for us for the underground, for the drifts and for, the access to the shaft. And then, how we pay him is we give him some timber of his own. So it's a win-win for everybody. We've got really smart people, and Nick Barr, who's our geologist up there, and the man on the property, he knows the area like the back of his hand. So, and it goes back to what I said before. It's not just the properties, it's the people.
Sure. So with your Arizona mill, John, is that mill turning 24/7 at the moment?
No. It's not yet. It will be. It's designed to run 24/7. And I sent a note out to a lot of people, to much of my contacts yesterday, and said, when you hear a mill is 125 tons a day, that's 125 tons of material per 24-hour day. Every mill is designed to run 24 hours a day. The way we designed ours is we can start it up and shut it down because we're only doing gravity. But when we put like a float circuit in, then it'll be running 24/7. But it's capable of running 24/7 right now. Like, it's capable of running it right now. We can run 24/7. But the fact is that we'll work up to that as we get further down the line.
For sure. What impact on your cash flow would that have if you were able to secure contracts with other mining companies to process their ore? What sort of could you sort of give some indication on the upside on cash flow?
Well, anytime you bring good grade material in and you can run longer or if it justified double the size of the mill, you're going to increase your cash flow exponentially. Yeah. So if you're running 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day and you take it to 24, your costs really don't change. They don't change, because when we designed the mill, the crushing plant can crush all the material for 24 hours in 8 hours or less, right? The crushing circuit is designed for 30 tons an hour. Yep. So you can if you're doing 125 tons, and if the crushing plant's only running 20, right, in 6 hours, you've got your 120 tons. So then you can shut that down. So you don't need your full crew there, your full daytime crew, let's say, to run your mill overnight. So it becomes an exponential. And as the grade, if you get better grade from somewhere else, obviously you make more money. Sure. And as you add things like we've got a lot of copper in our ore. And right now the we're stockpiling it, but it's going basically to tailings, if you want to call it that. We're going to
Right.
put a float circuit. We're going to put a flotation circuit in that will have the potential to recover up to, I don't know, 90% of it if you do your job right. So, you can add other streams in to collect it. You're going to be able to recover more of the silver in a float circuit. So recovery is improved. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but we have to walk before we run. But we've got a clear path to where we want to end up. So
Silver Bullet really does have a very low cost cash generator in that mill, and exploration upside at Washington, and of course the other properties. That's quite a story.
Well, we think it's a great story, and we think that we've struggled through all the problems of especially the last 4 or 5 years, but we've come out the other side. We're still alive and kicking.
Excellent. Well, I mean, fantastic, John. That's really painted a picture in terms of what perhaps the near term brings the Silver Bullet. You say you've got the MSHA done at the mill. You've got to finish that that's got to be done and signed off at the mine, and then it's all systems go, is it?
That's all systems go. We're ready. We've got up at the mine. We have 2 muckers, a 1 1/4 and a 2 1/2. We've got a 2-boom jumbo. We've got all the ventilation. We've got the generator. We've got a dry. We now have it timbered. We have the rock bolted, which is the screening you put around just to keep, what they call deadheads or widowmakers from dropping from the top of the ceiling. And that's what we're doing now. Once that is done and complete, then we'll be fully operational out of the Buckeye, and we'll be obviously bringing material in from wherever we can. Whatever deals we do, there are other opportunities out there that we are evaluating, and if necessary, we can always expand the mill that was designed to be able to double in capacity without having to double the infrastructure. That's why you see a lot of blank concrete there. It's because when we built it, I said, okay, I really want to have a 250 ton a day mill in the future. So we've got lots of future upside potential. The potential for a copper porphyry is down the road. But in order to find that out, that's a $10 million exploration adventure.
Yeah.
So we have, and that would cost at a 10-cent stock. Look at what it would cost to get that done. So by doing it this way, it enables us to reduce the dilution, protect our shareholder value, and give them something to look forward to.
Excellent.
And generate cash flow.
Perfect. What more could shareholders want, Alan?
It really is. I think the picture you painted there, John, it's just I like the approach you've taken. That slow build, to get the mill into production. The fact that you've got resourceful people on the ground there that are able to fix problems on the hoof, low operating costs, and this exploration upside. I noticed as well, of course, back in January, the Mine Safety and Health Association put the big tick in the box. I mean, if you expand or grow the plant, John, do you have to get them back again to sign off all over again?
No. What happens there is we'll do it according to their regulations, and we will tell them what we've done, and then they'll decide whether or not they come in to inspect. Now, let's go back to that January we're talking about. When we finished off what we were done at the mill, we went in, told them what we'd done, sent them the pictures of it, and they gave us the thumbs up to go ahead and move forward. But a week later, an inspector showed up just to see if what we were saying was true. So, and he came in and he gave us the thumbs up and said, A1, you did exactly what you said you're going to do. And you didn't try to pull a fast one on us, because those guys don't like to have fast ones pulled on. So as long as we do our job and do it within, they're always going to find something. Like a gentleman told me, he said, yeah, and they're a big multi-million-dollar company with a market cap of $1 billion. He says, MSHA comes into their mine all the time. And he says, we've been cited because one of our extension cords, the plug was frayed. So you've always got that you're going to have to worry about. But if you do your job right, they're fair. All they are trying to do, and I don't blame them, because my biggest concern is the safety of my people, and all they're concerned about is making sure that we've built a safe workplace so nobody gets hurt. And for me, I'm fine with that. I'm 100% fine. Do I agree with everything they want us to do? Well, there's a bit of overkill there, but guess what? You can't fight City Hall, so you just do it. So we've done it, and we're doing the same thing up at the mine, and that's because they can come in if you're not doing it right or you pull a fast one, then you're done. They'll just shut you down. So we won't do that. We won't do that at all. We just keep our hands clean, do our job. We brought them in because it was the right thing to do.
Indeed, and it certainly sounds like it's the right way to go about things, of course, and almost getting across that final hurdle. So that's fantastic. I mean, thank you so much, John, for that today. That was brilliant. I mean, it's great to hear all about where you've come from and what you've been building at Silver Bullet. I'm sure we'll be speaking again, in the interviews as milestones are achieved at Silver Bullet. But are you hoping for a pretty sort of decent summer for the company and some good news for shareholders?
Of course, the whole idea now is to execute the plan. That's you asked me earlier on today and tell me what some of the issues have come up that have been problems for you. And one of them was my over optimistic view of this back in the beginning. I didn't realize COVID was going to come along and all that stuff. So I told people dates that I thought were going to be achievable, and it turns out that they weren't. And I've been told that by several people in a lot of great detail that, you haven't been able to get it over the finish line. And that means generating revenue on a continual basis. Every time I turn around, like MSHA, it's now in May. And, we've been down for 4 months because of MSHA. So those are the things that I can't control. But I think I take a lot of heat from that because of the over optimistic view I had on things and got, knocked back a couple of paces every once in a while. And like I said, COVID put us out of business for almost 6 months, and then waiting for containers and shipping. And I mean, it was one of those things. And of course, then everything slips with it. And, I think I've even had shareholders tell me that I caused COVID. So what the heck?
But the thing is, John, you're entitled to be enthusiastic. You've built this company up. It's you put your heart and soul into it. And I think if I were in your position, well, we're all sort of running our own companies to some extent over here, and you're its biggest fan, and I think enthusiasm is a great thing because it's infectious. It comes across, and it's certainly come across loud and clear today.
Indeed, yeah, it has indeed. Well, like I say, thank you very much, John. I think that's about 40 minutes, so that's great. And good luck with everything, and we'll be speaking again, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, thank you, gentlemen. It's nice to be able to get some of this stuff off your chest and get it out there, and so the people actually get a kind of snapshot of what this company is about today and what it could be about tomorrow.
Excellent, good. Well, I hope everyone, who listens to it is that's satisfied. If anyone has any shareholders has any questions, as Stockbox, we're always keen to hear. So you can find us on Twitter at Stockbox Media. YouTube is just YouTube/Stockbox, and always happy to take questions that we can then maybe put to John or indeed Peter next time we speak. But thank you very much, and thank you, Alan, as well.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen, and have a great weekend.
You too, Mark.
You too, John.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to another podcast from Market Musings. Tune in next time.